like, it was on Amazon. It was an IR sauna, and I didn't know anything. I never even heard of that before.
So you get the infrared home, and you were saying it wasn't a good
Some type
experience.
of comments about EMF, and then I realized that this was going to be a rabbit hole.
Guess who's coming to sauna? Hekilunta. Guess who's coming to sauna? Hekilunta.
Hello, 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 everyone. It's been we've been so busy during the summer months that we haven't been doing that much, but luckily we're getting back into the groove now. I was actually myself just yesterday, I was doing some sauna. I was saunaing in New Jersey. So I'm, even though I don't necessarily look like it, but I'm fresh from the sauna bench. Sam, what's going on with you?
Oh, well, as you can tell, the walls are pretty bare behind me. Jess and I are packing up the house, getting it ready for sale. We're moving west out to Texas soon, so looking forward to that. But again, I look a little washed out. All my lamps are gone. I'm working off of a little USB ring light. So the blue really shines through. But we actually just had a great sauna this afternoon, talking through all the stuff that we got to get done in order to move halfway across the country. So a little bit of a stressful time for us, but we're excited. And a good sauna is a great way to, just relax and kind of come back together with minimal distractions. So it was much needed. And we've been moving boxes, so I've been sore, and on the road. So you know how it goes. I love coming home to my wood burning sauna. There's just no better sight for sore eyes. But Risto, you are looking tan, my friend. I don't know if it's your lighting or not, but have you been out out on the beach?
Well, I try and hang out in the sun as much as I can while before the great winter descends upon us. And it's actually pretty hot in September for this time of year. Sauna related stuff. My family goes, like the extended family goes up north once a year usually. So that happens this week, and there'll be a sauna there. So that will be good. And then happy to have a guest on the show today, my fairly long time sauna buddy now, Nathan Longhorn. Where did we first meet? Was it the wood burning sauna group?
I think it was the wood burning sauna group, and then we ended up connecting over some topics surrounding the infrared situation because of some of our other friends were feeling very passionate about that, and then we kind of branched off into other topics and explored a lot through conversation, and it's been really a fruitful experience being friends with you.
Yeah, totally agree. We started with sauna, and this often happens with sauna. You start with that mutual love, but then we've discussed religion, philosophy, politics, family, just like anything's open game. And
Yeah.
so it has been very fruitful and good. So, but before we met, you kind of had your own sauna journey going on, and I would like to hear about that from the very beginning. You mentioned infrared, so I definitely want to hear about that. How you start with infrared, but you end up in a wood burning sauna group.
Ever since I was little, I was obsessed with the sauna. Like, I remember going to certain places with my parents, and then I'd be in the locker room with my dad, and there'd be a sauna, and I would like have to like go, even though I wasn't like supposed to, I would have to go in for a second. I always have to get told, like, no, we're not doing this. Um, and in terms of like really contrast, I don't know if this is too weird for this, but we would go camping growing up. We would go camping at this place called Dosi Wallops. It's on the Hood Canal, and the river is just like glacier runoff. It's ice cold, and I would get bit by mosquitoes and sit by the fire, and I enjoyed the stimulation of the fire on the mosquito bites. and then it would get to the point to where it would almost be like kind of burning, and then I would go dunk into this ice cold water and go back and forth between the fire and the ice water. I think I've just always been like drawn to that type of contrast, whatever like tactical feeling from it. Um, and then I always knew that I would have to have a sauna in my life. Um, and kicking around the idea a whole bunch with my partner, I was at work and she found, like, it was on Amazon. It was an IR sauna, and I didn't know anything. I never even heard of that before. When she like sent me this link, and I'm looking at it, and I just sent her a reply saying, "Buy it," because it was like $1,000 or something. And she said, "I would rather wait until you're with me so we can look at it together." She's a rational person. I'm an impulsive person. And so I spent the rest of my shift at work actually a little bit miffed that she didn't want to just go along with the impulsive behavior. And so when I got home, I said, "Can we please immediately look at this?" And we sat down, and I was reading some reviews, and somebody made some type of comments about EMF. And then I realized that this was going to be a rabbit hole. And so that was how I came across a blog that was created by this guy named Matt Justice. And then he reviewed like 3 infrared saunas. And I just went with the one that he said was the best one. And then I got onto Facebook and pretty much joined all of the sauna groups that I could find. And that landed me in a kind of a weird group called the Sweat and Niacin Protocol. And as soon as I actually asked to be a part of this group, I was privately messaged by the guy who runs that group. And he just started kind of inundating me with copy and paste uh, marketing from the company called Clearlight. And so I bought a sauna from him. And when I received it and put it together and used it for a few weeks, I mean, I just remember being so disappointed right away because it just wasn't what I remember, what it was supposed to feel like being inside of a sauna.
Now,
And
you mentioned niacin. So what's
yeah,
that all about?
uh, I I never did this protocol, but from my understanding, they supplement with niacin. It facilitates circulation, uh,
Okay.
promotes like blood flow, and so it kind of would make sense you would need some niacin inside of that. Actually, it would probably, I could see it helping, but yeah, that group kind of came along with a lot of other things.
So you're coming at it from you just want contrast therapy, is that right?
Yes.
And they're coming at it from niacin is my understanding is like it has its roots in kind of at least as far as back as I've been able to trace Scientology and going through a protocol of detoxification
Mhm.
where they started with a traditional sauna way back in the day through Ron Hubbard, but then now infrared is kind of the big medium for that.
Wow,
So you land in this group, which is probably very common for people looking into sauna. They're going to end up in a group like that.
that is so interesting. That would check out based
Okay.
based on the nature of, I mean, because they were posting, I mean, they were I'm trying to figure out how to say this politely. Because I mean, I'm not like against, I even have a conspiratorial mind myself, and so I completely understand it. But they were like kind of unhinged in terms of the paranoia, the like constantly posting about like chemtrails and uh aliens and stuff like that.
So that's where the
So I
detox
could
would
see that
fit.
being kind of a almost like,
It brings out some of the definitely some of the people that are grasping at straws. Especially though I found, they might have either a medical illness or maybe something they're trying, maybe this is their last ditch effort, something that they've, maybe had a moderate or small level of success with. Or have seen some results. The big thing, we mentioned, niacin, or for those listening that aren't familiar, a lot of times it's called vitamin B3. But if you've ever had a lot of energy drinks, or if you've ever had like pre-workout things like that, it's going to pack a lot of niacin in it, and it does, like Nathan mentioned, increases blood flow. If you've ever had too many energy drinks or any of that kind of stuff, where it maybe makes your ears or your nose a little itchy, your skin can kind of get flushed. And that's where people are, trying to tie that to the detox. They're thinking if their system's running on overdrive, that means they're burning, all the gunk out, which may or may not be true in certain cases. A lot of times, increasing blood flow is going to be very beneficial, to what's going on. But again, you can easily overdo it with a lot of that stuff. So, we definitely just want to put that little asterisk out there. Don't be taking a bunch of crazy stuff and jumping in a sauna without, consulting the medical professional. But because you're going to find a lot of weird stuff online. It really, you can go down some rabbit holes, like Nathan mentioned, the EMFs. You've got people doing weird things with, their stopwatches, and temperatures, and you don't know what is what and which way is up.
This is it's awesome to do these episodes and the Amber Beds, because now this is getting very interesting, and we haven't even touched the surface yet. But yeah, no, it's like increasing the blood flow. Yes, that's what your heart is for. Obviously, that's what happens in the sauna. And I think that we have like maybe like a couple of different or many different schools of thought here. So it's like for many people, it's the sauna is the sauna is the sauna. That's the deal. And for a lot of people, it's a kind of a tool for something else, that you use the sauna with in order to gain hmm. And so it's kind of it's very exciting to hear this, what we are talking about right now.
Yeah.
But
And
anyway, yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, and Risto and Nathan, you guys were just touching on. I just want to mention, I love the connection to some of the theology. Especially we mentioned, I know Scientology, is big with, heat bathing, as it were, either a sweat lodge or sauna based. But there are a lot of organizations and a lot of religions out there that do incorporate it, good, bad, or indifferent, or how you feel about it. But it
Well,
is
it's
interesting that there is some of that again,
yeah.
there's going to be some kind of a negotiating tactic there, or some kind of a draw, like Nathan said. He's getting, pummeled with copy and paste, like it's a pyramid scheme. And those are the things that we definitely want you to watch out for. Some of this cheap IR stuff can really start to sound like the miracle cure for everything. And if you come join us, we'll clue you in on these other cool things that'll make you completely well for 99.95.
Well, and it's a great way to hook someone. Imagine you sign up for this new thing and then they have you sauning for a week and cleaning
Yeah.
up your diet. You're gonna feel pretty good after that. But I derailed us with the Scientology stuff. So you get the infrared home, and you were saying it wasn't a good experience.
I just remember it would take about 20 minutes before you would break a sweat. So that surprised me because I was having this nostalgia about going and immediately feeling that sensation of the heat. So that didn't exist. So you would sit there for 20 minutes and then you would begin to sweat, and then you just wipe the perspiration off of your skin with the towel, and you'll be in there for about 45 minutes to an hour before you'll feel like you've really had a thorough sweat. And then I would try to take a cold shower afterwards, and that just didn't work. I think that with the contrast, you kind of need more intensity to match each other. It can't be sort of tepid and then like go into the cold. It doesn't feel right. Luckily, I was able to jump ship right on time and get rid of it and return it. And Sam, you mentioned that the whole thing in terms of IR attracting people who may have medical conditions. I noticed that a lot of people on there actually did talk about having autoimmune diseases, and
Sure.
one of the group members actually reached out to me in the very beginning when I posted the clear light when I got it built, and I posted in that group and said, "Hey, check it out! Look what I got!" And a woman private messaged me, and we're actually still friends. And she said, "Hey, let me know how this goes for you. I have 3 sons, and 2 of them have autoimmune diseases, and I'm on the fence about getting an IR sauna. So I'm just kind of here exploring and checking things out." So she said, "Keep me in the loop." And so I kept her in the loop, and then she told me about a place that was nearby where she lives, up in Woodinville, Washington, called Cedarbrook Sauna and Steam. And that was where I ended up getting. My unit is just a 4 foot by 6 foot box with a Tylo electric heater. Um, I actually never experienced a wood fire sauna until last year. My friend got a sauna tent, and it's actually it's an amazing unit. And everybody talks. I hear people up until then they would talk about the soft heat from the wood fire stove, and boy, what a what a game changer! Like it's almost like you can it's breathing. It's like it's
Hmm.
awesome. So now it's on my radar. Like I need to have that in my life.
Yeah, it really does take on a life of its own, with that wood crackling and just it really is breathing. I mean, that wood stove is really pushing air around, and you really do feel it in just a different way than you can others. It's awesome that you got to experience that, Nathan.
Yeah, it's okay, but sometimes it's nice when the controller goes out and you just have to fiddle with that. So it's kind of little, little of both. But so you get the electric back home, and then did you feel like it fit the bill? Were you able to get enough of that contrast? And then also, how did it incorporate itself into your life, into your family life, or with your friends? What was it like to have it?
Such a game changer for my life. I don't think I would have been able to maintain mental health as well with if I did not have it. I feel like it kind of came right on time in my life. Uh, then entering into the whole COVID situation, my workplace became so toxic, and for the longest time the routine would be to come home from a really stressful day and just remove the clothes and just get in and forget about all of it and process it with my partner. And that would be the way that we would spend almost every evening after work. And then I've since actually, after 6+ years at that corporation, I was terminated. And so um, since then, I've started integrating more sauna during the daytime, which I've found to be just as nice, because I like being able to intake a lot of water in the morning and then in the middle of the day, and then still have the remainder of the day to hydrate. So I've found some good benefits in doing, because for years I only pretty much did it in the evening time to kind of decompress from the day, and now it's more integrated in daytime use, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, it's nice to, like you said, get rehydrated, but then also to let your body's thermometer kind of recalibrate. That way you're not waking up in the middle of the night with sweats or anything like that.
That was always a big issue for me was, yeah, in the evening, cooling off because I'm not a big cold plunge fan or cold shower fan for that matter. So, a lot of times if I was sauna in the evening, I was maybe rinsing off with, semi-warm water. But yeah, going to bed still pretty warm. And waking up, yeah, like you said, sometimes still sweating.
My we have a 3-year-old, and when he was an infant, we would bring him in for like a second, just kind of like, and we don't let him full blown like sauna, like do full blown sessions, but like he gets like miniature doses, and he loves it. Like he asks for it, which is pretty funny.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he'll grow up around it. He'll have a mighty sauna someday, I'm sure. Arrow, how young? I mean, Arrow, you were basically born in a sauna. But I mean, I've seen the pictures of like the babies in the bathtub, they're still maybe got some cold water, lukewarm water, and they're down on the foot bench and they're hanging out for a little while.
Yeah, that's what obviously I can't recall what I did, but I think I was less than a year old when I started, and the same thing with both of my kids back in the day. And I used to, me and my son particularly, we did sauna together. And I brought this little baby, thing, that whatever you call that thing, that the where you wash your kids or wash your babies. I brought that into the hot room and made it sure that it was far enough from the heater, so there was no way, when he dropped his rubber ducks and whatnot, that he wouldn't go and touch the heater. But he was a happy camper there. I took him up every now and then today, but it was kind of a good combination, because it's like I could stay on the upper bench, and he was playing there, and we were all happy. And obviously, like with all of us, it creates a lifelong addiction, a good one.
One of the things I want to talk about is some of the things that you've learned along the way as you picked up things and tried different things. I remember one of them is we started talking about ventilation, and you did some ventilation experiments with your sauna.
What got me to start thinking about ventilation was I think sitting in a sauna that did not have any ventilation, like zero. Now it was really, really weird. The experience was weird, not just because of the ventilation situation, but I just remember sitting in there and then like kind of feeling that there's some sort of stagnant feeling, and then looking around and then realizing that there were no vents at all. And so when I started looking into, well, what is the ventilation situation in my situation, and basically discovered that my room breathes really, really, really well. The only thing is there is pretty drastic heat stratification. So it's like way hotter up here by comparison. If you, in fact, it's sort of unfortunate because there are 2 levels in there, and the lower bench is basically just a step. Like that's as good as what it's worth. You wouldn't even sit on it because it's too cold. But from the level of the upper bench up, it's hitting 100 and between 180 and it'll go up to 220, and then it'll trip the. They'll have to reset the stove. But yeah, I remember kind of obsessing about the ventilation a little bit. Like I remember I put a fan, um, a box fan in front of the intake vent that's under the stove, and then I thought that I thought that maybe I was feeling more refreshed after a sauna, or maybe less. Sometimes I would get dry eyes or something post sauna, and I just kind of thought maybe it was due to a lack of ventilation, but it was pretty much verified that the room breathes pretty well. If you were to put like a piece of paper above the basically the exhaust vent that's up on top, like it suctions it to it, and so pretty decent.
Yeah, that's a good
And
test.
so what's your sauna practice like? You said it can go up to 220. How many rounds do you normally do? What temp is it like? Give us some of the details of what it's normally like.
I feel like the sweet spot is 190 degrees in mine, and I'll often try to overshoot just a little ways past that so that by the time bodies get in there, and it will come down several degrees. Um, I've been in all sorts of scenarios where I'm trying to play catch up with heat, and that's not a fun experience. Um, but there's kind of some technique with the heater to try to make sure that it's maintaining a nice proper temperature. Um, but in terms of the ritual, um, at temp, we usually go in. I will kind of stimulate the skin with horsehair brush, and then take some doses of water, and then dose the stove rocks with the water, and then hit the ceiling with some water, and then I've never really timed how long to be in there, but I just pretty much stay until I feel like my body is telling me that it's time to get out, and then come out to the backyard, rinse with water pretty much just to get the sweat off the surface of the skin, and then a little submersion in I have a 150-gallon Rubbermaid vessel that we keep water, and then I'll sit in that until, because I feel like when you're at the peak the of a sauna session, heart rate is upwards of like 100 and 120, 130 beats per minute, maybe even faster than that. And then in the cold plunge, I like to stay in until I can actually feel my heart rate come down. It's almost like, and everything kind of slows down. And then it's time to get out and then dry off, go back into the hot room. And usually I think we do 2 rounds most of the time, 3 rounds often, and 1 round is rare, but more than that doesn't happen very often. Not unless sometimes I've had company over and we're just hanging out all weekend or something. We might get really chatty and do 4 rounds, but that's like pretty rare.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like you're going, you're kind of pushing your body a little bit. I love the fact that you said, you're not timing anything, you're listening to your body, but sounds like you are kind of, going off to that, hey, I'm going to push it kind of to the limit. Where is my limit? And then saying, okay, yep, time to pull it back. So it definitely sounds like you're getting the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and sometimes it just, I don't like to push it until I feel bad. It's just to the point to where it's time to get out right now.
Yeah. It I always kind of equate it to, it's not that I'm tired, but my body is saying, yeah, I only have so much in the tank for this. I gotta, we gotta pick something here. Cool off, get out, dunk, your head in water, something, but you gotta cool off a little bit and get that heart rate back down a little bit.
Yeah, you should never try to outdo someone on the bench in the sauna unless it's arrow. Then then I'm gonna give it a shot.
Funny. The what was interesting, well, obviously everything you say is interesting, but what was also interesting is that you said that after the cold plunge you dry yourself and then you go back in. because I never ever do that. I just hang around somewhere, and I think I'm pretty dry when I go to the next round. But that's kind of new to me. So even though you don't clock yourself, but let's say like a normal whatever weekend, so three rounds maybe. Would you say that it's kind of a 2 hour process? So how long would you like approximately say it's gonna take you?
I think it's going to be within 2 hours.
Yeah, because that's pretty close to my tradition. So it's like and chatty, as I said, it's like if you're very chatty, I'm gonna end up doing 5 rounds, but it's like 3 or 4, rarely 5, but that's up there. Almost never ever more than that.
And I feel like that fourth round, especially when you're being chatty, comes from, hey, you know what? We've been chatting while we're resting for 15, 20 minutes longer than we maybe would have if we were on a mission, by ourselves with no distractions. I know there was plenty of times, when I was with Arrow and Risto, we're cooling off, by the picnic table or whatever it was that we had outside, having a couple of cold ones, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, I'm cold just from standing outside. I got to get back in there. Where you wouldn't really let yourself get to that point if you were just by yourself. So yeah, I see where that, but then again, that 2 hours becomes 3 hours, becomes four, and then, you throw some good food and drink on top of it. Yeah, you got a whole afternoon pretty quick. But yeah, now, Nathan, I was going to ask you, does your wife go in with the cold plunge and all that 9 yards too?
She does. Yeah.
Very cool. I mean, and now would you guys both say that you're getting the same kind of benefits, or does maybe you or her have maybe some things that the other doesn't find the benefit from?
I feel like we're kind of equally experiencing the same in goals and intentions, because really it's just a major stress reliever. And if both of us, because we do typically go together almost most of the time, and if we go 5, 6, 7 days without sauna, like we'll both be talking about like, we need the sauna, like this, it's time, like we need a reset. And so yeah, I'm kind of surprised, but most of the time when people have, like, if I host and have someone come over for their first time, like they've never really done it before, they never really done the cold plunge. Oftentimes I notice, like, sometimes people will be very, very nervous, and then it's neat to see how they do it. They might be psyching themselves up over the idea, and then they do it, and then they feel just empowered, and they're almost always surprised by how much easier it was to do than they thought it was gonna be. So, I feel like I've just observed that even if people aren't used to it, which Christina wasn't, my partner wasn't when I first brought the idea to have this. Although she has had a friend that had one when she was a kid, and she said she liked it a lot, but I'm not sure that they did like the proper cold plunge and stuff.
Very cool. No, that's awesome to hear. I mean, and we've mentioned it a few times tonight, that is the one of the benefits that really goes, unadvertised, that really maybe should be a little bit more at the forefront is, that stress relief. There's just something to be said about that in everybody's life. Stress is the leading cause of probably most things that ail us, or at least it doesn't help. So any way we can reduce those stress levels, it is a win by me. However you do it, it's definitely something that we should all be striving to at least be cognizant about, be in the present, hey, am I stressed out and why? What can I do to really bring that down, ground myself, and maybe do something that's a little bit beneficial for my body too.
So how are we going to actually do that? It's a kind of an interesting. That's a good point of view, but it's like a kind of how it works now with a lot of people. It's kind of increases the stress levels because you try to gain something out of it. It's just like it's part of your exercise regime or whatever, and so it's like that kind of laid back thing, which this leads to the and let's not go there at all, but 8 years in a row, Finland has been the happiest country on earth, and it's definitely has to do with that sauna experience because that's what people are passionate about it, and but some people could be making money while the other people are viciously sauna bathing. So yeah, absolutely, Sam. I agree with you 100%.
Well, I think the beauty is that if you're exposing yourself to the extremes of it, it kind of beats you into submission as far as relaxing and de-stressing. So if you just have IR and you're just doing it real quick as part of your workout thing and toweling off and getting out, you might get a little bit of that de-stress, maybe a little bit, but it's not going to be much. It's going to be like a quick warm shower or something, but an actual intense a few rounds of the hot and the cold. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have a choice. It would be very difficult to stay stressed.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think something I've noticed even in observation, like living in a temperate climate, whenever we have extreme weather, so sometimes we'll have like a cold snap and it'll be 12 degrees for 2 weeks, or we'll have a crazy heat wave and it'll be 102 degrees for 2 weeks. It kind of seems like it like cuts a lot of the I don't know if I don't wanna curse, but it's almost like it takes the ego away. Like, all this stupid stuff doesn't matter anymore. It's only, like, the thing that we're dealing with that matters right now. It
It,
kind of
and I like I Nathan, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're kind of describing my relationship with sauna is it is kind of that constant. It is I know what environment I'm getting into, and then it doesn't matter what environment I'm stepping out into from the sauna. It's gonna feel, hey, it's either a relief, it's gonna feel cooler. Hopefully I'm not stepping out of my sauna into something warmer. We've all got bigger problems then. But it does it. It helps the body. I feel like it helps the body just kind of reach that neutral where I can go from there.
Well, it commands your attention to the moment. If you're stepping into 180 degrees right there, although if you're experienced sauna goer 180 and 90, you're kind of relaxed. It's not demanding your attention. But eventually the steam and as you're in there for a while, that, you're not going to be able to ignore that.
that's why I
Yep.
think that IR doesn't work. So like I was saying before, having the nostalgia over the tactile feeling that is immediate, and that kind of it's really almost by definition meditation, because you're talking about the right here right now. The past doesn't really matter, the future doesn't really matter. It's like this is now, right now.
We've had there's another sauna week coming at the end of February, organized by Finlandia Foundation National, and because of that, we've been part of it ever since they started 5 years back. The upper bench has been, but anyway, so I had this interesting discussion with Mikkel Arland, who wrote that book Sweat in the 70s. And some Finnish, it was so funny. Some Finnish folks were super upset that the name of the book was Sweat, because this is where the disconnect kind of happens. And Nathan, you were just explaining that before. So it's for some people, sweat is the thing. But for a sauna bather, the sweat is kind of a side product. It's not something that you are aiming at. It's not like I go to this sauna and I'm gonna sweat like crazy. It's obvious you do, but that's not the point. So the point is that relaxation and that, and the cleansing, and inside, outside, and everything. But if you have to nail it down somewhere, you're gonna nail it to sweat. And obviously, and let's not continue the IR discussion per se, but it's all about sweat. It's all about that sweat that you're waiting to happen. And for me, I'm not, when I go to a sauna, it's not like I'm waiting and, oh gee, let me start sweating at some point, please.
Yeah. Yeah. The only time an IR hit somebody in the face is a couple of guys were screwing around in the back and somebody hit them with the panel. You're not going to step into an IR and be blown away. You're not going to be like, oh wow. And so that's something that I think really is, the downfall. People, once they try, I mean, the downfall in the positive for us, downfall for IR is, people step into their first traditional sauna and they're like, whoa, this is something different. This is the real deal. Because again, your body's got to stop and say, "Oh, I got to do something about this. I got to start sweating. I got to start raising my heart rate." And you're going to get those things in the IR. It's just going to take forever. It's the difference between microwave and the smoker. You're going to have a great long heat, thoroughly distributed, or you can microwave it. It's still going to be hot eventually.
Yeah, we have a place down the street from where I live that's called Oli Float, and it's a spa. They primarily offer the services of uh, isolation chambers,
Mm.
like, and I found out that they had an infrared sauna, and it was when I was trying to figure out my own situation with the clear light unit, and because I thought maybe there was something wrong. Like, that was what my main concern was, actually. I actually thought that it was not working right. So I called Olifloat and made an appointment to use their IR, and had the same exact sensation, the same exact feelings. And then when I came out, uh, and the owner, it's funny because the owner used to walk by my house all the time, when you would go to work. And I came out from the session, I think it was 30 minutes. And I said, hey, so it takes like 20 minutes before you really start to have any kind of an experience inside of the infrared sauna. Do you feel that too? And he said, oh yeah, for me it takes 30 minutes. And he kind of said that almost in a way of like, I can sit in, like, almost, I don't know, it kind of felt like like he would probably call himself alpha or something. And then I said, well, so then that only really means that you're experiencing like warmth for 10 minutes or 0 minutes in your case. He goes, well, if you want, you should just book 2 appointments back to back. That would be like $60. And I just thought it was so weird. So when I got my setup and he was walking by several weeks later, I stopped him and I was like, "Hey, you should check out my setup. I got I actually got a traditional sauna with an electric stove. Come check it out." Because I just figured, why, if he has a sauna in his spa and he cares about this, why not? Um, but he said, "No, I'm in a hurry right now, but if you ever see me walking the opposite way, it means that I'm on my way home and I'll probably have time, so stop me next time." And he has not walked in front of my house since.
Hey, I mean that sounds like a win either way.
Well, or a loss, his loss.
He is
Yeah,
lost for sure.
kind of interesting. I
That ex-
understand wanting to believe in the thing, because if you have an investment, because I remember when that was going on, and I was disappointed with the experience, but I paid a lot of money for this thing, and it's going to be a pain to like break this down and return it and do, jump through the loops, which I did have to jump through some loops that it was annoying. I remember like almost wanting to like figure out how to talk myself into being in denial, but luckily that didn't happen.
Good deal.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're pretty you've been pretty we would talk about IR and then I'm in some of those IR groups just out of curiosity. And
Yeah,
eventually
same.
eventually I did use IR cuz I wanted to see what it was like, and it was just like your experience. It was very underwhelming. It definitely would not fit the bill. Even a lot of hotel saunas won't fit the bill. But anyways, you're very vocal in these groups to ask them questions and probe, and you even got me kicked out of one of the groups. but it, but I thought it was pretty funny. And it's good that people are informed, and then they can just make whatever decision they want to make. But most people out there that are buying saunas really aren't very well informed.
That's true, and it's also kind of, I don't want to name any names or anything like that, but it's just like people do have very strong feelings about everything, and it's kind of surprising that even though with limited experiences, with limited knowledge, you have still stern, ideas of how things would be. Just quite recently, a person quite close to me went to this public sauna, and they were asking, they ran out of the bucket, for the steam. They ran out of the water, and they were asking for more. And then the owner said that you don't need any more. That's like you got what you got, and that should be enough. And like, hello, it's just like
That's like
how,
going to the car wash and running out of water.
yeah,
There,
yeah.
oh, there's almost always some sort of financial part of it. Like if you wrote a book on the topic, then you're going to defend whatever that perspective is. If you're a sauna builder, your building method's always the best, and all the other ones are crap, or like whatever the thing is that's buttering your bread. That tends to be what people are big fans of.
There's a company in Olympia that they build sauna and these units, and they look really fancy. They have like a kind of a um an aesthetic that would lead you to like, it would look really good on Instagram. It's just like super fly. But I went to I emailed the company, and when I found out they were in Olympia, I wanted to see. I wanted to see like what the operation looked like. Put my hands on the product, like see what this is. I kind of had this sense like they were a little apprehensive to let me come check it out. And then I had my neighbor come with me, and we drove out there, and he seemed conversation like what we're having, like there were no intentions to talk about any of this stuff at all. And then I received a few follow-up emails where he was trying to push a sale, and I never gave them any indication that I was interested. I told him that I already had a sauna. I told him that I'm just a sauna enthusiast, and since learning that this operation was in the same area of where I live, I would love to talk with you. And it was interesting. It was another little glimpse into what Chris was saying in terms of bread and butter. Like I got like this little glimpse of that with that experience. It was like, oh, this is money. This is money.
Yeah, and I've had that experience many times where, because I've interacted with the sauna business world a lot. It's one of two reactions. One, it's like, "Oh, you don't own a business. You're not really able to help my business." Then it's kind of like radio silence. And then there's some business owners they care about it no matter what, if they were running the business or not. And we'll geek out about stuff all the time. So it's definitely a mix.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, if you're in the market for sauna and you don't know who to buy from, send them an email, ask them some obscure questions, see what their sauna regimen is. Are they even a sauna user? I know I probably wouldn't want to, especially if I didn't know any better, I wouldn't go buy a truck from somebody that didn't have a driver's license. I need to know something. Hey, what's your personal experience? How do you, why are you selling this product? Do you believe in it, or do you believe in, the what's in my pocket for it? So,
Yeah,
um,
ask him like how can I malt some barley in this thing or smoke
how can I smoke fish?
yes,
Yeah.
smoke fish.
No, that's awesome. Awesome, awesome stuff, guys. Final thoughts. I know we're pushing up to an hour here, and I've got some hungry doggos that need to go outside. But what, what are we leaving off here?
I wanna
what do we really want to get across?
I no I well let's not go to just a couple of seconds more. So I have a question, Nathan, for you. So what's your next step? Is there gonna be a wood burning heater there, or what's your next step? Or are you happy with what you have and that's the way it's gonna go?
I think that while we remain in this house, this will suffice for sure. I see a future to where we live in another location that would be more compatible for having that type of setup where it's outside, away from the house. Um, so, I mean, I'm constantly thinking about that vibration experience from the wood fire, but yeah, I think it'll happen in the future. It's on the radar.
Absolutely. And I like that you said, it'd be a separate structure. Nathan, do you really think that that's one of the essential points of the full package? If you could, dream it up that you could get outside after being in the hot room?
Yeah, because the way that I have it now, we have the hot room located in the garage. It's right next to the side door, which leads to the backyard. So there's the elements of being outside, but it's kind of combination of both, which I feel like it would just feel so much better to have kind of the whole experience outside. Um, and I don't know that this backyard that I'm sitting in now, I don't think it would be. Maybe it would be okay. But for some reason, I something about it. We have these large evergreen trees in the back. It just feels like I don't know. I don't know if I'm being paranoid, but I kind of have this vibe like there could be maybe a fire hazard.
That's fair.
My friend has his sauna tent in his backyard, but um he has his it's like sort of offset from this gazebo on a rather large cement patio, and there's no trees. I don't know.
It's in our case, it's my wife is it's like stereo speakers back in the day. It's just like, I've tried to talk my wife over to a sauna tent in my backyard, a mobile sauna on our driveway, and it's always a no, no, no. So it's like it's for her, it has to be perfect, and hence the trips to Finland so often. So I will be vigorously sauna bathing the whole of next week. So it's that's what's happening. Anyway, so but what you like Sam said, so we need to wrap this thing up. On my behalf, it's been a very nice discussion, it's kind of exciting to see. I was talking with a gentleman who runs there's the World Spa here in Brooklyn, New York, and it's basically a very fancy. I would if you have to stereotype it somehow, it's a banya, and but they have all sorts of rooms, and one of them is actually an infrared, and he says that he can see the kind of people are starting with the infrared, but then slowly but surely, elevating to the real heat, or the more heat, should I say. So on my behalf, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Nathan. This has been a pleasure. And just it's awesome to connect with like-minded individuals that are willing to, dig a little bit more, below the surface, and not just take it at face value.
Yeah, and a big thank you for me. It's always fun talking. And one of these days we have to sauna together, so
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would love to get back out to the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. If any of you guys ever want to come out to the Pacific Northwest, you have to stop here. We have to do a sauna. And then we want to get over to Michigan. We've done a bunch of Illinois trips, and I want to go out there in a car instead of flying at some point, so we can kind of branch off from there and get out of Dodge.
I'm gonna have my sauna talk in Chicago on October 19th, so that's where I'm gonna be in there. But,
Oh, cool.
so if you guys are around, come and I don't even know how to get to hear me, but there has to be a way because I'm gonna be there talking. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys very much.